Well, then we don't really have like a very formal beginning. So we're just going to call this the start. So we always start this with introductions. So tell the people who you are and what you do.
My name is Christmas Bacos. I'm the Senior Director of Proactive Workplaces at Hope for the Day, which means that I partner with companies, corporations, other businesses to bring mental health training into their workplace and help with a culture change to help to build a more compassionate workspace.
Awesome. So you agreed to come on a few weeks ago, but I'm glad we waited a bit because it doesn't get much more fitting than to do this episode during Suicide Prevention Month. So let's keep like riding in that lane for a little bit. Hope for the Day is an organization that you introduced all of us to, and it really took no time whatsoever for all of us to like fall in love with. So because of the nature of podcasts and like front-loaded attention spans, I wanted to make sure that like people didn't miss this part. So can you give everybody a detailed dive into who Hope for the Day is and what all they do?
Sure. Yeah. So Hope for the Day is a suicide prevention and mental health education nonprofit. We are based in Chicago, but we operate globally. We have volunteers and people in all 50 states and I believe 28 countries now, where our rallying cry is it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to feel your feelings. It's okay to have struggles and be able to talk about those struggles. And it's okay to want to feel better and to do what you need to do to heal. We started in 2011 in the Chicago music industry, where our founder and CEO, Johnny Boucher, was working. He was an independent concert promoter here, and he worked largely in the Christian music festival industry. And his mentor and his boss was a guy named Mike Scanlon. And after working with Johnny for a long, long time and getting very close and really forging a fantastic relationship, Johnny got the call one day that Mike had jumped from his 6th floor balcony and had died by suicide. And
Jesus.
yeah, Johnny he stepped back and started to evaluate that Mike was one person on a list of tens of people that he has lost to suicide. At this point, right now in 2020, Johnny has personally lost, I think, 16 or 17 people to suicide.
Holy
So
moly.
our mission really started in the Chicago music scene, where Johnny still was doing metal and hardcore and punk shows and speaking from stage and printing out just like little zine resources to tell people to talk and to find the help they need. And he found that the more that he spoke up and told people to talk to each other, and the more that platform opened up, the more people did want to talk. So our bread and butter is really in the music industry, and that's where we've gotten our footing. And we did the last 5 or 6 years on the Vans Warped Tour, where we were able to go out on the road and speak to thousands and thousands of people every day, and do direct outreach and providing resources and education for that scene. And now we're branching out into this corporate side. We still offer free community education. It used to be in the Chicagoland area, but now it is fully virtual. Thanks, COVID. We were wanting to go virtual, but COVID gave us the old half Nelson and forced our hand a little bit. So now we are providing education throughout the country and the world. And so far in 2020, we have educated over 21,000 people. So pretty fucking proud of that. Oh, can I swear?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fucking yeah. So, yeah, whenever you started doing Warped Tour with them was when you kind of brought that into my orbit. So that was definitely something that I had no idea that I had no idea that it was even on your radar until you were like, hey, I'm on Warped Tour, like working with this awareness company. And I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden, it just completely snowballed to the point where Obama has tweeted you guys out. This week, William Shatner
Yep.
tweeted you out, like, kind of crazy. But I mean, that kind of speaks to the reach that you guys have right now. But so kind of interesting that you are talking about going virtual and you're being in the corporate world and everything like that, because like this entire shutdown, lockdown, quarantine situation is obviously completely unprecedented. It has people just, I mean, it's been such a trying time for people for a whole bunch of reasons, but like not least of which on their mental health and their mental well-being. I came across an article from The Intercept that had some pretty disturbing numbers in it, saying like 10% of the population seriously considered suicide in the month of June.
Wow.
Like, has there been any common like blanket issues Hope for the Day is seeing people struggling with throughout this span of time?
I would say we are, I don't want to say that there's one blanket issue, because everyone processes challenges differently and everyone's mental health journey is their own. But in working with some of our clients, the most common things that I'm seeing and working with our clients is the constant restructuring of organizations and furloughs during this time, and how the people who are still part of the organization are experiencing this major bout of survivor's guilt, where they're like, okay, well, I still work here, but my entire team now doesn't have a job, and these people were like my family. So we're seeing a lot of that. Just the uncertainty of not knowing what tomorrow is going to look like, or next week, the constant change in information without any explanation. Like, let's wear masks, let's not wear masks, let's wash all of our groceries, let's not wash all of our groceries, without any real, like, I don't know, explanation or science behind it, has been challenging. We're also getting the depleted surge capacity that's causing a lot of fatigue, both physical and mental fatigue. So generally, if there's a disaster, let's say there's a natural disaster, if there's like a hurricane or a flood, community has the ability to tap into this surge capacity where everybody can like rally up and put themselves at this high level of impact and I don't know, like helperness, where everybody can just like jump in, take care of shit, and move on. But we've been running at this high level of anxiety and uncertainty and fight or flight for so long that now our natural state is kind of this depleted, this depleted level where we no longer have surge capacity. And that's also leading to a place where we are almost, there are parts where we're experiencing grief and mourning, and where we're thinking about what used to be or who used to be around us, and just our natural ability to go about our lives. So we're seeing a lot of that and trying to work through those types of situations. And for myself, I'm somebody who is very open about living with anxiety and depression. And from the beginning of quarantine till now, I've been like this. There are days where I feel super productive and I can just like smash everything. And there are days where I can't get shit done. And I have to call my boss and be like, hey, I'm totally fucking useless today. And I'm super grateful that I work in a mental health organization. He's like, yeah, your 60% is better than my 100% right now. So you do what you need to do to take care of you. Let's try again tomorrow. So I'm really thankful for that. And I'm also just experiencing for myself, I built up a great toolbox of self-care and ways to valve the pressure that I experience in my everyday life. But a lot of those valves, because of COVID, have now been taken away. So I like to go to the gym. Well, my gym's fucking closed, so I can't go to the gym. Running outside, it kind of sucks, but I'm getting very good at running long distances. I like to go to a bar and have a beer. Can't go to a bar. I like to go to a restaurant and have dinner with my friend. Can't do that. like to go to concerts, can't do that. So like all the things that I would typically go to are no longer available to me. So it's been really challenging to develop new tools. So needless to say, I've been eating a lot of ice cream and meditating. Been watching a lot of RuPaul's Drag Race and 90 Day Fiance. So yeah, that's my own experience, and it's based on the encounters that I've had with multiple clients. It seems like we're all experiencing some form of that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say that I'm not like the most anxious person on the planet, but even I'm not like impervious to this. I definitely had my moments where I was just like, all right, I'm hitting a wall here. And like today's like not a day where I'm gonna like force myself into any like overproduction, because it's largely just going to be useless. Like I'm not going to be doing good work and my head's completely somewhere else anyways. uh Kylo's my dog. Like he's probably my best piece of sanity. Like I'm not sure what life would be like if I did this whole situation living here by myself without my dog. That would be it'd be a very interesting, I would like to see what that other reality looks like. Not really though.
No.
uh I'm interested just for like, the science of it. But with all that being said, like there's obviously no cure all for what and how people are feeling right now, or ever really. Like, what is Hope for the Day found effective for helping people deal with the complicated feelings and emotions everybody's been dealing with in this situation?
Yeah, so we're very much leave no stone unturned. Everybody's journey looks different. There's no one magic wand that is going to like cure what ails you. You have to find that perfect balance that works for you, and sometimes it's one thing and sometimes it's another thing. So we're very much the entire organization is all, you need to find your own path. So as much as we would like to say that like one therapy visit is going to help where you're at, or one pill is going to cure what you're going through, that's not necessarily the case. I know that for me, one pill isn't going to fix anything that's going on in this noodle, and that's why my doctor gives me a bottle of 30. You're not going to make any progress with just one of anything. So I can speak from my own personal perspective again. I am a big time advocate of therapy. So I think that the whole world should go to therapy, and it's not just for when something's wrong. It's a way to keep you healthy. Like you go to the dentist to get cleanings so you don't have to get a root canal every time you go. It's the same thing for therapy. Like as an emotional sponge, I take on a lot of feelings and emotions, and sometimes I get really, really full. And going to therapy allows me the opportunity to go in there and just like wring out all of those feelings, and help me to be more open and more present, and just more helpful for myself and others. So I use a mix of like therapy, so clinical, I take medication, and non-clinical, so making sure that I'm running, that I'm eating food that is fueling my body and my mind. And some days I'm more consistent than others. There are other days where I want to eat a pint of ice cream, and I do that. Sometimes I like to have what I like to call a heavy old fashioned on a Tuesday evening. So finding those valves that work for the individual is super important. And organizations like Hope for the Day can help to connect anybody who's watching this who needs assistance. We can help connect you to those resources. We are not clinicians, we are not doctors, but we can act as a bridge to those resources and help you to navigate that very, very daunting and crowded field, because it's a lot. It's hard to find a therapist. It's hard to find the things that work for you. So we are available for that.
Well, that's actually interesting. I never really thought of it, but you do deal with basically hearing like the plight of other individuals all the time. And like, I know that even just dealing with like just a friend or two or whatever, and if they're going through something rough, that is tough on me. But to basically, like, your professional life is hearing this from a bunch of people over and over and over and over again. um like, how does that work on you? How does that take a toll on you, and how do you kind of navigate, making sure that, like, I know that so many times people say, like, don't take your work home with you.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you kind of sift through that?
Yeah. Well, some days are easier than others to leave it in the office, especially because my office is about 8 feet that way. Um, and throughout my work here, I've heard a lot of fucked up stuff. Some really, really intense things, like some of the things that I've been some of the conversations I had, especially on Warped Tour, got very, very heavy very quickly. Um, but it starts for me is the gratitude and understanding that I am in this really unique position where I have the ability to be support for someone who may not have it anywhere else in their life. And sometimes when people come to speak to me, and this is even when I prior to this role, I worked in HR, and I worked for an international fast fashion retailer for about 14 years, and I worked in HR for maybe like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 of that. And recognizing that when someone comes forward with something that is like really scary or really challenging, it's knowing that it takes a lot of courage for them to have that conversation. And if they have gotten that courage to come and speak to you, this might be the hardest day of their entire life and the scariest day of their entire life. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
important.
vulnerable as hell.
Yes. Yeah. So it's important to recognize the courage first that it takes to have that conversation and to even be open to having it. And then knowing that, okay, today I have the capacity to receive that type of information. So I'm going to receive it, and I'm going to let this person have the experience that they need to be able to vent that pressure off in that moment. I mean, there are certainly times where if I'm feeling really depleted or I'm like having a real shit day, where I am not able to receive the feelings and the conversations. But I've gotten much, much better since I started going to therapy at asserting boundaries and setting those boundaries and saying like, hey, I can see that you are in pain. I can see that you're struggling. I want to have this conversation. I want to help you, but I'm not able to have this conversation right now. Can we schedule a time tomorrow? But if it needs to be right now, I can link you to someone who is ready to receive that. So knowing that like I have a network of people, that I'm not the only one. I'm not responsible for fixing anyone, because that's not what we do. And I'm not responsible for being available to anyone 24 hours a day, because the only person that I'm truly responsible for is myself. And I need to keep myself full, because you can't drink from an empty cup, and you can't help others when your cup is empty either. So being able to assert those boundaries, but also know that you could be the only person that has ever given this person the time of day to speak their feelings and their experiences.
That's kind of amazing. Just like, and then I imagine even whenever you say like, I don't have the capacity to like receive you in this moment, and you like say, but I have this person for you, I have these resources for you or whatever. The fact that they trusted you in that moment then probably, gets directed to whatever you direct them to. Like, they trusted you enough to come to you, then they will probably or obviously trust the direction in which you steer them to, saying that this person or like these resources, are your next step.
Yeah, that's the hope. If it's somebody that I know personally, I would say yes, that's what happens more often than not, or more often than not, they're like, okay, well, let's just talk tomorrow, and I can give them my full attention. We can schedule a time, schedule an hour or 2 hours, and then that is my task for that time, is to be present and be with that person. But if it's a stranger, so for example, like at Warp Tour, we have a lot of people who would come to the tent and just speak to us. And if I received like something, if I received a message that was like very troubling, or something that weighed on me very heavily, I would communicate very clearly to the other people that were working with me, like, hey, I'm going to go take a break. I'm going to step away, or I'll just sell merch for now, or hand out resources for now. And if I receive something else, I would say like, hey, thank you so much for coming to speak to us. This person right here is ready to speak to you. So it's almost easier with a stranger, because you don't necessarily have that trust and that relationship. And if they're coming forward, they just want to be heard, and they want to be able to vent those feelings and see what else is out there. So it's almost easier in those situations. It's like the close personal relationships that are always more challenging, because there's a lot more riding on it personally too. If I'm like, hey man, like, I can't listen to you right now, I run the risk of like not being able to assist a friend who might really need it. But if this person is my friend, they would know that I do want to help them, and I will help them. And hopefully they respect that boundary.
Well, kind of funny. This is like not this little section that we have going on was not something that I had planned to get into, but it did segue into something I did have planned to get into, which is the fact that a lot, we're talking about these people like having the courage to come forward and talk to you, and they just want to be heard and whatnot. But, so many times we hear that people don't come forward because of stigma.
Mm-hmm.
And, just the idea of seeking help is like stigmatized as like being a sign of weakness, and, whatever else makes you, I guess, like not feel, I don't know, less than normal. I guess it makes you feel less than normal if you seek help. And so Hope for the Day has been running this campaign that just launched a little bit ago called the Stigma Swear Jar. And I just wanted to give you the opportunity to tell people what that's all about.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for bringing that up. I love that. So yes, you talked about stigma, and stigma is that it's those societal pressures that are put on us to tell us how we can dress, express ourselves, wear our hair, who we can associate with, who we can love. And stigmas are fucking bullshit, man. Stigmas are all about compliance and shoving you into those boxes. And I mean, you've known me for long enough. Try to tell me what I should or shouldn't be doing. It's not gonna work out well for you. But we like to say that, or RuPaul. Let me quote my patron saint, RuPaul. RuPaul says, "We're born naked, and everything else is drag." It's all about your own way of expressing yourself and being able to be your true, authentic self, and how you choose to look and act. And there's no such thing as normal. What is normal? Normal is not a state of being. It's a setting on a washing machine. So we like to say, fuck stigma. Stigma sucks ass. So we developed this really amazing campaign that I'm totally obsessed with called the Stigma Swear Jar, where you can go to the website, which is stigmaswearjar.com. I hope that is the website. Let me just double check that. Stigmaswearjar.com. Yep, thank you. Great job. Stigmaswearjar.com. And if you so choose, you can make a donation to Hope for the Day. 100% of those donations go to providing our free community education. And you can type in a note to tell Stigma how you really feel. You also have the ability, if you would like, to make a video or to record yourself telling your own story. And we can anonymously share some of those like social interactions on our socials. And I just think it's just such a cool campaign that we are all human beings. We all, as Johnny likes to say, we all eat, sleep, piss, and cry. So everyone's doing their best. Everyone is just trying to get through this thing called life, and we don't need any of that other pressure to deter us from living the best life we possibly can. So stigmasquarejar.com. It's fucking awesome. It's so I keep wanting to say the word cute, and I know that a website is not cute, and somebody really smart designed it, and I'm sure that cute wasn't in their minds when they were doing it. I think it's very cute. Mm-hmm. So you tell Stigma to fuck off, you throw some money in the swear jar, and all your money goes to suicide prevention, and it's totally rad. And like you said, we had William Shatner shout us out this week, which is really, really awesome and funny, and we're hoping to get some more engagement on that. And hopefully our big campaign that is our big partner that is launching on the 10th on World Suicide Prevention Day will bring some more attention to that. Do you know about that?
I don't. I mean, so okay. Is this what was going on? Like literally as I was setting up, I see a post and it's like basically about as cryptic as possible. And it says hope for the day, Marshmello, Demi Lovato. And it's like got a graphic and no information. So I don't know. This isn't going to come out this week. We're going to probably do it next week. So if it's sensitive information beyond that, I understand if you can't like divulge, but what the fuck is that all about?
I can't wait to spill the beans. This has been a secret for so long and I could explode. So Demi Lovato and Marshmello are releasing a song on World Suicide Prevention Day, September 10th, called Okay Not to Be Okay, which is our tagline. And the website that they released has like a mood, I don't know what to call it, a mood test, where you can say like, here's a prompt, like, how does it make you feel when you hear gossip? And you can like press one of the faces, and it's various levels of happy and sad. There's also links to our resources on there. There's a playlist on there. And then they're releasing their music video, and it's going to have Hope for the Day graphics and also the resource pages in the music video. And Demi Lovato is sponsoring education for her fans. So the month of September and October, Hope for the Day will be offering Demi Lovato fan-specific mental health education that I get to help curate and put together and teach, which is incredible and exciting. And I cannot believe this is happening.
Yeah, that's freaking wild. Have you heard it? Have you gotten to see everything? Like, have they done an internal like viewing party for everything that's about to release, or no?
Nope. We'll see it. We will see it, hear it at the same time as the rest of the world.
That's pretty ridiculous. So God damn it. All right. Well, at least we'll have already seen it when this comes out. So that's nice, because like I'm right now I sound like I'm like, oh, why I gotta wait like a couple more days now.
2 days.
Yeah, right. But that's amazing. And so in that vein though, as much as like she obviously has like an unbelievable reach, and also Marshmello, but like a lot of people have been doing some really amazing and selfless things during this whole ordeal, which leads me to believe that there's probably a lot of people hearing this right now and wondering how they can help. So if people are interested in looking into Hope for the Day, like how can they get involved, and what's like the best way to get that ball rolling for them?
Yeah. So depending on what your desired experiences, you can go a lot of different routes. If you go to hftd.org, there are links to our education. That's always a great place to start. Free education. It's about an hour and a half long. We also have specific education to individuals who are in the food and beverage industry. So that's called our 86 The Silence, where the people who teach that education are from that industry. We also have an education course that is specific to first responders and active duty and veterans in the military called Project Red Team, who we have people who are from that industry and veterans who are teaching that course. So I encourage you to go and get educated. If it's something that you really enjoyed, you can then sign up to be a volunteer. We have internship programs available. Donations are always welcome, and your donation doesn't go to paying anyone's salary. 100% of your donation goes directly back into our programming, so you can rest assured that your money will go a long way. We also have surrogacy programs where we can teach you how to train our education, and then you can deploy that education. We have the workplace mental health education program. We have an Agents of Impact, which are individuals who volunteer and mobilize their local community to raise the visibility of resources. So like, it's really a choose your own adventure. Whatever you like to do, we would love to take you up on it. If you want us to send you resource cards to hand out in your community, we would love to do that. So whatever you feel comfortable doing, you can reach out at info@hftd.org for more information. You can also reach out directly to me. My email is christmas@hftd.org. Pretty easy to remember. Keep doing this. Why am I doing that?
You're doing that because now we're shifting the focus. This is going to be a little less hope for the day and a little bit more Christmas centric now. So we're going to get into you and a little bit of your long game. With you sitting opposite me in this interaction, I would say it's more than fair to say that one story begets another. I find it highly unlikely I'm sitting here working with the people I'm working with, friends with who I'm friends with, connected to the communities I'm passionate about, being able to share the memories I currently have without meeting you and basically forcing my way into your life. Meeting and becoming such close friends with you just put me on so many new and positive life paths. Like, it legitimately makes me feel weird trying to imagine what that like sliding doors reality looks like if I never met you. But we're not going to talk about me so much, but I feel like you deserve to be recognized for that. I don't believe that I'm doing this right now if I never met you. But so we're here to talk about you. You cast such a wide net when it comes to all the things you've been involved in professionally. But for the 2 decades I've known you, I've seen you time and time again position yourself in a way to help and be of service to others. I'm not sure where you want to like plant the flag as your starting point, but can you tell us the story of like your professional journey that brings us up to where we see you today with Hope for the Day?
Sure. First of all, I want to go on the record and say, I love you. You're one of my best friends in this entire world. And I thank you for bullying your way onto a show that I was promoting and insisting that I had booked you, although I had not.
You literally just gave me a flyer. Like I tell this story all the time. Like I didn't know. I was like, we had like 3 or 4 songs and I had no idea what like being in a band was all about. And I never had been to a local show. And then you handed me a flyer and I just assumed that meant that I got booked for a show.
You did not, but but you made it anyway. You showed up. And showing up is 90% of the battle, right?
I guess. I mean, we did play.
Good play. And then fast forward, what, like 3 years? You and I went to the prom together. Tell the people what they want. You and I went to the prom together.
We sure did.
Fun fact.
I actually, oh man, I would run and go get it, but I have our prom photo on my dresser in the other room.
That's so awesome. You got to hear a member of my class talk about my titties in front of everyone while I was very nervously and very sweatily giving a speech telling people to have fun. Anywho, that's another story for another day. That's another podcast. My professional career. Let's see. I got my start in ice cream. I'm a big ice cream gal. You've heard me talk about it 2 times. Well, my first job ever was at the Dairy Queen in Carnegie. Shout out to the Bodners. Greatest job of my life. I loved it. I also was able to have bands come and pick up their tickets at work and eat all the foot-long hot dogs my little 5-foot tall tummy could handle, which is a skill that has really done me well over the years. Then yeah, so I worked at Cold Stone for a bit when I moved to Boston for college, and then I started working retail when I was in college for a little while, part-time sales. And then when I graduated from Berkeley with my music degree, I stayed with my retail company. I went full-time, and then I moved to Atlantic City, New Jersey, and I worked sales there for a bit. And then I just realized I'm squeezing this in my mic, so I'm sorry if you let me stop fiddling.
Fidgeting.
With it. Yes. I eventually became a department manager with that company, and then a district recruiter, and then employee relations. And I was overseeing the Midwest. I had 14 states and about 4,100 employees that I had to keep track of and make sure that they weren't stealing or hitting each other or sexually harassing one another. And then I started volunteering with Hope for the Day in 2011, and I went on the Warped Tours with them, and I did some concerts with them. And then I moved to Chicago for my retail job, and Hope for the Day is located here, so I was able to do even more stuff and again do some touring. And then I was laid off from that retail job after being there for about 14 years. And during the time when I was laid off, I went about I don't know, like maybe 6 months where I was looking for a job and couldn't find a job. So during that time, I started writing the program, the workplace mental health program that I'm currently the director of. So I started writing that program, writing job descriptions and training checklists and all this banana stuff. I had this big vision, and then I pitched the idea to Hope for the Day's CEO, Johnny, and the executive director, Dave, and I was like, check this out. And they were into it. So I was able to move over and start working at Hope for the Day full-time. Ooh, I missed one thing. So I was laid off. I was writing this program, and then I got a job offer at a mental health organization based here in Chicago that provided direct service. And it was mainly funded through the government and lots of grants, and there's lots of bureaucracy. And I just had like this vision that I wanted it to be so much more. And I felt really stifled by all the government bureaucracy and just like, okay, where's the money going? Well, why are these people doing this? Why this? Why that? And I do feel like I made a difference there, and I am happy that I had that experience there, but ultimately it was not for me because I couldn't see the immediate impact of what I was doing, and that was super frustrating to me because to your point, like, I like to help. I like to be of service. I like to be able to just to see and do. So now I'm here, and I love it. The days are long right now because I'm still building my department. But I started there full time in January, and as of the recording of this podcast, it's September. So in 9 months, I've grown from a department of 1 to a department of 10, and I still feel like I need more help to manage the volume that we're doing, and I'm just like so proud of the steps that I've taken and what I have created there, because I think that it's a long-term, okay, so number one, from a business standpoint, it's a long-term revenue source for the organization. And the second side is I get to help people every single day. I've never felt more fulfilled. I've never had more job satisfaction. Like, yes, the days are very long, but at the end of the day, I'm like, look at all the rad shit you accomplished today, and the people that you've uplifted, and the way, I don't know, I'm just really proud of what I'm doing. And it feels weird to just like say that out loud, but it's fucking tight. I've no complaints.
Well, so that's kind of been like the interesting thing about this pivot that I've kind of taken the podcast with, this like talking about the professional journeys that people take, whether or not they are just like a creative or they're a pure entrepreneur, or there's someone like you that like got swallowed into an actual organization. But like truthfully, like you are more of a pure entrepreneur than you are like a company person. Like for you to basically come, like you basically came to an organization with like a department under your arm and you're like, I'm willing to grow you. And that's like, that's what that sounds like to me. Like whenever I hear you tell that, and for you to say that you're proud about that, no, it doesn't sound strange to me at all, because like I'm proud of what we're doing here with like Some Good Print, and like the collaboration, like inside collaboration company that we have with Super Deep, and just like the things that I get to do with my friends and the creative things that we get to do with other people, and just how happy that kind of makes us feel. And because I've been so unfulfilled in my like corporate professional path, so like I totally get what that feeling is like, and I not only do I like support it, I like think it's completely warranted.
Well, good. I'm super super proud of what you all have created there and what you're doing, and how you have all these arms that are like kind of secret, but they all like work together in this really perfect way that is so like, knowing the people that you work with, it makes so much sense, and it's so perfect. And I'm really really happy for you guys.
Well, definitely appreciate that. I can't take very much credit for it. I know I've done my part, but I mean, I got to tip my hat to Pat and Fuse, because they built a lot of this before I was even brought on. But that was, but kind of funny. I forget who I was talking about this with. I think I did it on the podcast, but like I hadn't realized it kind of in the moment. It happened over time, and then I was realizing what was happening. But like I was kind of working freelance for Pat for a while,
Mhm.
taking, blogging jobs and, social media management, this and that and the other thing, basically taking all of these like small things off of his plate so that he could focus on building this other thing. And he was constantly telling me like, I'm working on something else. I just need you to focus on this so that whenever like this thing is ready, we could just move you right in. And so that's kind of like what my role was I kind of played interference for all the bullshit coming at Pat so that he could do something a little bit bigger for us. So yeah, that's I gotta give a lot of credit to that kid. Yeah, and like, but again, like I'm I'm proud of this. And I think anybody that builds something of their own and kind of gets to watch it come to fruition and like take on its own life, then yeah, you should be proud.
Thank you. I am so inspired by Pat. Pat is like, the way that his mind works, I just love talking to him so much because he has such a big picture way of thinking, but also like a long term, like super long term. Like anytime I have a finance or a money question, I'm always like, Pat, tell me about this. And I'm like, well, here's what's going on in the market. Here is what's going to happen in 6 months, in 12 months. And he just like knows so much about business and finance, and has a way of conveying information that makes me want to like start 100 businesses all the time.
Well, it's funny that you say that because he has that, and it's so readily available to him. Like he just accesses it and just brings it right out. But sometimes it comes out almost robotic. That like in the beginning, we were having like a little bit of a rough time because we would have these meetings and like my friend Pat would disappear and like this robot of information Pat would show up, and I was like, I don't know this person. Like I don't know this automaton that's like on the other side of the room right now, where I'm trying to like I'm still catching up to where my friend went. Like what are we doing here? Like what's going on? But then I totally understood that what he was completely prepared to deliver the information, and he just switches the gear and it just it just is ready. It's like completely accessible to him, which is not necessarily one of my strongest suits, because I'm like kind of I'm more like I'm so difficult to switch completely into serious. I'm like way easier to be happy-go-lucky and like, but like be real good in like in a narrow scope. So for him to just be able to like, all right, I need to access like this paper size and like this print processing style, and then just pull the lever, and then all of a sudden it's like all of a sudden there's just like real information that you can't believe that he didn't have to like pull out a phone for, or like some sort of like a document that has like a cheat sheet on it.
Yeah, he's so good at that shit. I'm like, well, it's so important to like the health of a successful business to have those people that can switch back and forth, and also to know your strengths and your limitations. I'm very much like the Chihuahua wearing like the yellow vest that says nervous, where I'm like always so afraid to take any kind of leap. I love a sure thing. I love being comfortable, and that's not where growth happens.
Nope.
So like let me back up a little bit to my time in corporate America. So it was not my decision to leave that job. My department was reorganized and I was laid off. However, about 7 months prior to my layoff, I had what I like to call a straight up fucking mental breakdown, where I was like planning my wedding, and I had like a lot of pressure externally, but then internally the work culture was like just so toxic, and it just like built and built and built. And my boss, my manager, was fired, and I was relatively new in my role as employee relations. And like I said previously, I had like 4,000 people that were like calling into me that I was like ultimately responsible for from an employee relations perspective. And I was ill prepared, and I was shown through years and years and years of working for this company that you can't speak up for yourself. You can't show any type of emotion, or you're going to get gossiped about or said that you are weak, or you're less than, or you can't handle shit. So I was like really masking how I was feeling, and I was like sitting under my desk and fucking crying at my desk at work. And then it escalated to the point where I would be crying all the way to work. And then it escalated to the point where I was like laying on my bedroom floor the night before, having to go to work and deal with all the stressors that were coming with that. And I never spoke up for myself, even though I was very clearly struggling, to the point where my husband, who's like so wonderful, you know this,
Love him to death.
Long after no, I'm not going to go there, never mind. So my husband confronted me one day, and he was like, look, this has been going on for like 6 months, and you can't keep doing this anymore. You will either go on a leave of absence or you will quit your job, because this is not okay. It was impacting my personal life. It was impacting my work life. I was just like unable to do anything for so long. So I took a leave of absence. As an HR person, I was able to navigate the EAP process and the leave of absence process. So I took that leave of absence, and I was able to go to therapy regularly and build tools and learn about what I was feeling and what it took for me to get to that place and how to navigate that. So this is a really roundabout way of me saying, like, you need to be an advocate for yourself, and understand that sometimes it takes a leap of faith to get to where you really want to be. So for me, it was like saying fuck it and going on that leave of absence, and then knowing that I should have left that job at that point, like right then. I should not have stayed there. It was so bad for me. I had outgrown it, and it was just a bad time. But I felt like I got kicked out of the nest at that point. And then when the restructure happened and I was laid off, I was sad, but I was also like kind of relieved, because I didn't have to think about leaving. I didn't have a choice. So yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that. I feel like I should give you $100 for this therapy session.
No, you were just saying that.
You accept Blue Cross?
Yeah, I'll accept anything at this point, man. The fact that people have Medicare right now is I mean, good for them to have it. Yeah. But no, you were saying that like you love a sure thing and everything like that, and you took like a really big leap of faith to kind of like get yourself to where you're at, which I get completely, because it's getting to a point where I know that that's a decision that I'm going to have to do at some point. Like, I'm going to probably need to take a monetary step back to take a happiness and quality of life step forward, like leap forward. So like I totally get it, because I know that it's coming, and I'm already like doing what I need to do to prepare myself for it. But if you would see how I am in my other job, you would be like, it's not going to take a whole lot, actually. Like I think the people that I work with kind of crack up a little bit, because I'm like a guy that almost sounds like revolution, like we need to change the way this place works. And I honestly have that attitude, because I care about the people that I work with. My team is actually a good group of people, but God, just the way the company is run, they just get like, just roughshod, rolled over. Yeah, it's not awesome. And they usually, even though like my phrase is that we drag the company into progress, kicking and screaming. Like they constantly think that everything that we do is a bad idea, and then we just go ahead and do it, usually because we have to. Usually they put us in a position that we don't have any other option. but to like deploy this idea that we had, because we're swamped otherwise. We can't manage our workload if we don't do this new, like, you know, streamlining method that we came up with. And then all of a sudden they'll love it, and then they'll be like, they'll take credit for the idea and deploy it globally into all of our offices. So that's my my line, is that we take this company and we drag them into progress, kicking and screaming.
Well, that's why I need people like you and Pat in my life, because if you will remember, I had the same BlackBerry for 10 years and refused to give up my BlackBerry. I also drive a 2000.
It was very impressive that you had it for that long, though. Like, it was kind of, as much as we need to advocate for you to get a new phone, it was very impressive.
I hate stuff. I don't like stuff. I hate technology. It scares me. I've mentally been a Nana since I was like 17. Let's be very clear about that. I hate change. I hate technology. It all scares me. So that's why I love I have a really fantastic intern who's always like, okay, grandma, like, we're gonna walk you through this program. She's the best.
I'm making you a t-shirt that says, okay, grandma.
It's me for sure.
Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. So just in going through all this stuff, so we went into Hope for the Day pretty deep. We got a pretty like a nice overview of your background and everything you went through to get up to this point. Is there like a specific moment that stands out to you as being like the most important thing that's helped dictate like the direction of your professional life? Was it that like leave of absence moment? Was it anything before that? Like,
Oh man. I wonder, because as a youth, as an angsty youth who wanted to run away from my home and Pittsburgh, I saw myself working for a record label or like working in the music industry. But I think the thing that I've always liked the most about any job that I've ever had in my life was like the service piece of it, or just connecting with other people, which is wild to say at this point. So in my youth, I was very much like in front of everybody, wanting to connect, wanting to be around every single thing possible, wrapping my arms around every human I ever met. And now as a 35-year-old, I've gotten a lot more introverted, where I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm fine. I'm going to stay away. I'm going to be the quiet person who just observes everything. But I still love the idea that I can be of service, like no matter what it is, like any situation. I'm constantly like volunteering for things and being like, you don't want to do that. Why'd you just say you're going to do that? I can hear myself saying like, oh, I'll help you with that. And as the words are coming out of my mouth, I want to like push them back in with like a steel-toed boot. Like, what are you doing? But I think
I do that all the time, where like somebody asks me and I just instinctively am like, yes. And I walk away. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, I don't have time to do that, nor do I want to do that. So I'm wondering, you said is there one moment? I don't know if there's one moment, but I do think that it's my desire to feel like I'm of service. I always find the most satisfaction and the most fulfillment when I know that I've been able to help someone in some way, even if it's like really small. So like coming to the Dairy Queen, giving somebody their 2 bumps with a swirl on the top of it in the most perfect way possible. Like, I live for that shit. Or being able to adequately direct someone to the correct design of pants. I don't fucking know. Like, I just love to help people. And I think that my whole life leading up to this moment has been like just small acts of service over and over and over, and finding those ways to satisfy that urge to be of service. Man, I never thought about this before.
I know what. So you're making me now like dig deeper into this, which I wasn't really gonna like go much deeper than this, but like with you saying that about like those little bits of service, what was the first time that you volunteered for Hope for the Day on Warped Tour? Like, is that a pretty standout moment for you? Like, I imagine you like offering yourself to that many people day after day after day, in that kind of like heavy of like an emotional sphere. That had to have been something brand new, but like super like no, like super refreshing, absolutely knowing that you did a lot of good like every day.
Yeah. So I think it was 2014 or 2015. I forget the exact year. So the first time I volunteered on Warped Tour, I was going out for like 2 weeks, I think. So, and I can't remember what city I jumped on in, whether it was Pittsburgh or whether it was Chicago, but I know that I showed up with a suitcase, and I knew that I wouldn't be leaving in my car that day. I'd be getting on a bus and just like going across the country for a couple of weeks. So I would use my vacation for my retail job to go and do like 2 weeks every summer on Warped. And that first year I was out there, I remember we were traveling with the band Vanna. So I forget where I got picked up. I can't remember, but we were traveling with Vanna. It was myself and Johnny, and then Kiki, who was working for Hope for the Day. So I met up with them, and the first year it was like pretty quiet in the tent because not a lot of people knew who we were. So we were really like engaging others to be like, hey, come over here. Like, let me talk to you about this, like going out and grabbing people. And we had this wall that you could write, I think it was like, what gives you hope, on this big banner background wall, and just like talking to people in that way. So that first year was about like getting my feet wet, and also learning about doing the Warped Tour, which is like so hard. It's such a hard tour. Like, the conditions are rough.
And they make it that way on purpose. Thanks,
Which
little local bands.
But it like, you know, you're in one place one day, and then you're another place another day. And sometimes those first couple years, the drives were long. So the drives were like over miles almost every single night. And we were out. So we were always like one of the first people to set up. So we were on the grounds at like 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 to 9 o'clock. And then we weren't breaking down until like about 8 p.m.-ish. You'd break down, take a shower, eat a couple hot dogs, and then go to bed. But knowing that we had the ability, though, during the day, those hot days, to connect with people and let people know, hey, it's okay not to be okay. Like, let's talk about this. Let's sit down. I forged some relationships with some of the people that I met on this first couple of years of Warped Tour, where I just like made these connections with people, and I stayed in touch with them for like years and years and years. And one of them, at the time, they were brought to us, and they were having thoughts of suicide. They had like, they're having a real rough time that day. And then fast forward like 5 years, I attended this person's high school graduation party. And they, at the time that I met them, they had openly said, like, I don't want to live anymore. Like, they might be watching this. So I'm just really fucking proud of them. And I am am so grateful that they allowed me to be like a creepy, weird old lady and say like, hey, I want you to send me your poems, like tell me more about your music. And I like continue to engage that person through email. And they lived in like the greater Chicagoland area. They lived like an hour and a half away. So I would drive out to where they lived, and we would go and volunteer at a dog shelter. Like we'd go to lunch together and just talk. So there are things like that occurred, and there are people that I still continue to text with and stay in contact with, who like outwardly told me like I don't want to live anymore, and they are still living, and they are thriving adults. And that's not to say that I'm responsible for that, but I can just say that I'm grateful that I've been able to see those individuals at like the lowest point in their life at that point, and be able to see them like grow and come out of that, and that they were willing to be that open and vulnerable with me is just like really fucking cool. Like that's huge. That's a lot of satisfaction. That's where you get those like those dividends. You know, my dividends don't come in dollars and cents because I work for a nonprofit, but they come and just like, I don't know, man, being able to see people fucking grow up and live good lives.
Well, so I usually at this point, and I feel like it's a good point to bring it up. We've gone through like a pretty long time span of yours. Like I hate keep saying journey over and over again, but it is kind of a journey, and this one particularly seems pretty heavy and also nuanced. So like now, having discussed all of this in like kind of a compact amount of time, like are any like particular feelings rising to the surface? Like this kind of fascinates me too. Like feelings and motivation these days I'm really into.
Particular feelings.
Like you thinking about your entire trek from Dairy Queen to Hope for the Day. Like what does that make you feel? Like do you have anything that like is
I
there
mean,
is there like is it like triumph? Like here I am. I went from
I think
Dairy DQ to Hope for the Day.
I think that's part of it, but I think what I am, and we could do 4 more hours on like childhood trauma and shit like that, but I think that my own personal journey, while I'm sure that is not unique in the grand scheme of the world, it is unique to me, and I had a very, very challenging upbringing. I never thought that I would leave my hometown. I had, you know, yeah, I had a lot of, I don't want to sound like cocky or ridiculous, but I had like a lot of shit stacked up against me. So, I mean, to give you just like a tiny little tidbit, the only reason I was able to go to college was because the high school janitor saw potential in me and agreed to sign my student loans. Otherwise, I would have never been able to go to college. I never would have been able to leave Pittsburgh. And at that time, like my home life was incredibly challenging, and had someone not seen that potential and believed in me in that way, I can guarantee that my life would not look the way it does right now. And I'm incredibly proud of who I am and how I got to this place, and just like scrapping and scraping forever and ever. Yeah, I'm grateful. I'm proud. I can't fucking believe it. I can't believe the life that I have and the people that are in my life to this day. And I know it's like hippy dippy bullshit, but I wake up every single day and I'm just like grateful for where I am, because I picture it often, what if I stayed there, or what if I married the person that I was engaged to, and a couple of years ago, not a couple of years ago, but like 12 years ago, 13 years ago. There are a lot of what ifs, but everything has led me to this point, and I'm really fucking proud of myself. And I love my life, and I love the people in my life, and yeah, and I don't know, I hate the phrase everything happens for a reason, but every single piece of my life and every decision that's been made has led me to this point, and it's pretty fucking cool. I'm very content in where I am and who I am, and I'm a constant work in progress, and I feel like I'm pretty self-aware, and I'm thankful for that. And I don't know, I'm fucking babbling because I'm gonna start crying if you let
No,
me go.
well, don't
Like you're
don't.
doing that.
Well, you'll be the second person that cried because Steve was the first person that did.
I'm
But
so close.
uh, so that's kind of funny. Yeah, I kind of hate when people say everything happens for a reason, because I just know for a fact that if I do nothing, nothing happens. And me knowing you, for you to be like, everything happens for a reason, like, it wasn't that you were just like, well, I was just kind of waiting around for things to happen, and they happened. Like, I watched you make a lot of decisions. I watched you take a lot of action. So like, yeah, if you want to say everything happens for a reason, the reason why it happened was because I watched you make it happen. So I'm definitely going to assert that out there, because I really do. That drives it. It's one of the things that I think it probably irrationally like drives me into a little bit of a rage when like people are just like, it'll happen if it was meant to, or something like that. I was like, no, if you want it, you got to fucking make it happen. Who else is going to do it for you? Like, there was a gambler's chance that perhaps it just like stumbles into your lap, but like, let's be honest, that's not likely.
I love the phrase, if I keep doing what I'm doing, there's 100% chance that everything will stay the same. So if I'm miserable and I keep doing exactly what I'm doing, there's 100% that I would stay miserable. But if I do something different, there's a 50% chance that something will change. And that's just something that came to me recently, and something that I read. But I never thought of myself as someone who has like made big decisions or taken risks. You're the first person who's ever said that to me out loud, because in my head, I'm like, you always play it safe. Like you are like consistent Christmas. Like you want to do the safe thing, no risks. And I never thought about my life and the decisions I made in that way. So that's fucking wild. So
Well, I think you calculate. I mean, you've always been smarter than me in that realm. At least definitely at a younger age. I was straight reckless. Like I just acted. I didn't even think. I was not smart in that. You were throwing shows and I didn't know how to get on them, so yeah, you were definitely more calculated for sure. So to you, it may not have seemed like such a risk, but like I always knew what was on the line.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I always knew what was on the line in that sense, and that like, if I miscalculated something, I would not be able to eat, or I would not be able to have a home. Like I never had like a safety net. So I think that it goes into that mindset of like scarcity, where everything I need to do goes back to being able to have some sort of like comfort or roof over my head or food in my mouth. So I always knew that no matter what decision I made, at least those basic needs were covered. I was always thinking about like just getting by rather than like that's how I think about it. Like, what can you do to make sure that you will be able to get by and not necessarily like thrive or save or, I don't know, create abundance or security. So that was like a lifelong, that's so far has been, I mean, it's a lot.
The funny part is I still don't think I know 100% like how to make sure that I'm good in the long term. Like I know that there are things that in theory and in concept I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't think that was like very well. I don't. Yeah, it's probably there's probably a million people that are our age that feel the same. Like I don't feel like I was taught how to like truly make sure that like I have padding on like the back end of my life. And not for nothing, the actions that I was taking were basically like to live a life that was so, I guess, like in the very most blandest sense to be considered like unconventional, like to go for like a life in music or music business or anything like that I mean, who the hell really knows how to actually advise you in that realm, which was basically why they tried to steer me towards college.
Yeah.
You're going to debt.
If you're under 18, college is a sham.
Yeah, please utilize YouTube.
Yeah. Please become a plumber or a massage therapist. We need more of those.
Well, that's funny that you bring up plumber, and we don't have to keep going down the rabbit hole of like, oh, here's where all the opportunities are. But yeah, real talk, blue collar jobs right now, anything that has like a solid union behind it, you know, electricians, plumbers, all those types of things. Those you're gonna find yourself with a nest egg a lot quicker than you will going into a cushy. I don't even want to call it a cushy. My white collar experience sucks. I ate hot dogs for 5 years straight after getting out of college. It sucked. It was the worst. I mean, not for nothing, you know, thanks to all those great bankers that collapsed the economy as soon as I got out of school. But even still, like there were no jobs. I was a little ahead of my time with being in multimedia. It wasn't like super, super prevalent yet. It wasn't until like social media really took off, which was a couple years later. But even that wasn't completely realized. Like I don't know, probably about 5 or so years after I got out of school. So there was some struggle there.
Yeah. Yeah. I am in the market for a plumber right the fuck now. My basement keeps flooding up the drains and filling my basement with doo-doo water, and I cannot shop vac any more shit out of my basement. I cannot. And if anybody can quote me less than $10,000 to fix this problem, come on out to Chicago. You've got yourself a deal. I can't. I cannot keep dealing with this fucking basement flooding. No.
So, interesting that we're at this point, because so we typically like to wrap these up with something interactive. You get to ask the people listening anything you'd like to know from them. So if it needs to be, do you know a plumber? It could absolutely be that, but anything you want to ask the audience, and then they can tag you and put their answers in the comments and whatnot. Floor is yours. You get to ask them whatever you want.
Does anyone want to come clean the shit out of my basement? No, please don't respond to that. That was stupid. So sorry. What do I want to ask people? Okay. So I would like to ask people to take time. If you're listening to this podcast, please take at least 10 minutes after listening to this podcast to think about what you are doing for your own self-care and what your self-care looks like on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And I would love to hear from any of you what you are doing to take care of yourself, because the more that we can talk and the more that we can share, the more that we realize that we are not alone, we're not crazy, we're not insane, we're not fucked up. We are human beings trying to get through life. So I want to hear what your journey for self-care looks like. I'm also going to make an ask that you follow Hope for the Day on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and continue to follow our journey as a nonprofit. It's something that I'm really proud of. If you know, I'm asking all of the things, so I've completely hijacked this.
Take it.
If you work in a company that would like to hear more about workplace mental health training and building that compassionate workspace, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is christmas@hfte.org. You can also find me. I'm disabling my Facebook, so don't find me on there. That place stresses me out. I am on Instagram. I'm Christmas _ like the holiday. So I'm easy to find on there. And check out the Stigma Swear Jar and check out that fucking Demi Lovato song. It's gonna be tight. But thank you. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being on. I loved it. We went to places that for as long as I've known you, we haven't talked about some of this stuff. So always interesting to like, and I knew this was going to happen because I was actually talking about it with like my sister and everything. And I was like, I guarantee you that there's stuff that I'm going to find out about Christmas because this doesn't naturally come up in our conversations. Yeah. So this is a lot of fun for me. And I can honestly say that I was the most nervous I've ever been to do a podcast. That like this is the most nervous I've ever been because I just wanted it to be good for you.
Eli, okay. I'm surprised that I haven't had nervous diarrhea all week. I hate performing. I hate being in front of people. I get so nervous. So thank you for making this painless on me.
Hey, I do what I can. I'm not into pain and stuff like that. So, I mean, unless it's a tattoo, but other than that, I don't really like pain.
Damn.
So, I love you. Thank you for taking the time. I love your mom. I love your husband. I miss you guys dearly. And I do. I feel like we could have gone on in a couple different alleys forever. So we may have to circle back or just keep doing like Hope for the Day update episodes because I'd totally be down for that.
Yeah, or you and I can get together and have a bunch of whiskeys and I'll tell you everything. But thank you. I love you. I love your mom. I love your whole family. I love your dog. He brings me the most joy, and I love you and I'm proud of you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I love everybody that's listening because I feel like they shouldn't be left out of this.
I love everyone that's listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us an hour and a half of your time. I know that your time is valuable. I hope you listen to it on a 1.5 speed, so that I sound real fast like this.
All right. Well, 1.5 speed. You heard it here.
Rails. Cut
yeah.
it.
And make sure you tag her and tell her about what you're doing to take care of yourself.
Yes, please. I want to hear it.
All right.
Bye, everybody.